Never in the history of marketing have small businesses been able to track and measure their marketing results like they can now online. That said, sadly, a majority of small businesses don't really measure that closely or take action on what they see. I'm just going to say it. If you're not measuring your marketing results online and not taking action based on it, you're just not serious about your digital marketing. Um, you're just not going to be the best in your market. You're not going to do nearly as well as you could. So, on the positive side, uh, let's dive in and have a look at how to do it and a ton of the insights that you can get out of it. I wish I could tell you there were a whole lot of different options around how to do tracking, what services to use, how to dig into it. But that said, there's really only one source that makes sense for most companies, and that's Google Analytics. Typically, Google Analytics is the best type of tracking to use, and there's a few reasons for that. Um, it allows you to see how many visitors you got in a set time period, which pages they viewed, how many pages they viewed. You can see where they live, what devices people are using, what search terms they used. You can also see various demographics in there. And with the search terms, I should mention that that's not necessarily available specifically within Google Analytics, but you have to connect Google Search Console to Google Analytics, which is another reason that Google is kind of the best sort of opportunity or to track and the best tool to track with. You can also see which marketing activities led to visits at your site and compare the effectiveness of each type of marketing. And even within that, the next level is you can set goals. So you might have a goal of having somebody fill out your inquiry form. You might have a goal of somebody clicking to phone you from mobile. You might set up a goal of somebody booking an appointment. All of those can be tracked at Analytics. And then another reason why the Google Analytics is so important is you can then export those goals to tools like Google Search Ads. And then you can actually use that data to improve your campaigns right in Google Search Ads. Google Analytics also ties in with the other Google properties like YouTube. So again, there are a few other web tracking options, but just none of them that give you the options. And for better or worse, Google kind of controls a whole bunch of the internet ecosystem, and you pretty much need the analytics. Sadly, the traditional analytics is just changing. It's been consistent for, gosh, probably 15 years, more or less, how Google Analytics works and how it looks. They're changing it to GA4, which is short for Google Analytics 4, and it is dramatically different. They're trying to phase it in right now, and it's not going to become mandatory until next July in 2023. So far, it's really challenging, very different, and a little bit buggy. So I wish I could give better advice right now, and I wish I could do this presentation based on GA4, but it's just not quite ready. That said, we will update this as soon as we feel it is ready for people to use as their main analytics platform. So stay tuned on that front, and we'll most certainly let you know via email if you're a Academy member. So definitely sign up for that free membership to stay in the loop on that stuff. And yeah, and Google demographics. Again, Google has 7 properties with over 1 billion users each, and those include things like YouTube, Google Search, and a variety of the other Google platforms. So essentially, they anonymously gather the demographics behind the scenes. They've done actually a fairly impressive job compared to Facebook in that they do this on an anonymous basis, but yet you can target folks that fall in different age ranges, genders, interests, all sorts of things. Again, not quite as precise as Facebook, but it has persisted better through some of the privacy challenges that have come up with Facebook. So definitely some great demographics on that front, and I'm going on too long about this, so let me just jump forwards. Let's look at some essentials of Google Analytics. I mentioned Google Tag Manager. You don't have to use it, but it's essentially something that you can install that will allow you to manage all the different sorts of tags that you have to put on your website. So your Google Analytics you can implement through the Google Tag Manager, your LinkedIn, your Facebook Pixel, all that stuff. Rather than having to go and edit the code on your website to drop those tags in, you simply put the Google Tag Manager tag on your website, and then us marketers can actually just input all the other platform tags right through the Tag Manager and never actually have to touch the code on the website. So it's really helpful. Again, don't have to do it, but I definitely highly recommend it. Google Analytics, of course, is important. Google Search Console is the tool that anonymizes all the search data of your visitors, as well as a site checkup tool that tells you how healthy your site is. But essentially, you can go in and look at a past history in Google Search Console of who's visiting the site, what keywords they're using to get there, and a whole host of other information, where you rank for different keywords, all sorts of great information that is not available in Analytics, but actually gets imported into Analytics if you connect the two. UTM linking is a topic that we talk about a lot, and we actually have a free resource to help you make and save your own UTM links. And it basically is just a little bit of information that you add to the end of your marketing links that allow you to track those different marketing sources within Google Analytics totally separately, by campaign name, by just about any criteria. So in a healthy ecosystem, you'd have your email marketing links with those UTM links. You'd do any Facebook ad links with those. Certainly any paid promotion, you want to use these links. And sometimes you'll see them in platforms like Facebook. Yeah, they refer to them as parameters. But we have a way that we prefer to set them up that works fantastic with Analytics. You can set up those goals that I was talking about. You absolutely want to set up those goals, because that will allow you to tell quantitatively which marketing source is working better for appointments or inquiries or any of those goals that we talk about. You might want a URL shortener like Bitly. Something that's really cool with Bitly and those URL shorteners is you can create a memorable short URL that you can use in the offline world. Like we did that with a legal client that did a great big billboard, and they wanted to understand if people were responding to the billboard. So we set up a custom short URL that people were able to easily remember and type in. As it turned out, they didn't get much traffic from the billboard, but in other cases we've seen where it does work, where the offline marketing can work quite well. You can use it in print ads, you can use it on radio, flyers. It's just wonderful in those regards. And the biggest really essential thing is to do something with this. Have some sort of regular, meaningful analysis of your actionable data, and then take action. If you're not doing that, you kind of, if you're not doing that, it's not that hard to set up the analytics, so it's kind of interesting to look at the analytics, but you won't be driving value unless you do some meaningful analysis. And by meaningful, I mean meaningful for your business, sort of at a frequency and depth that makes sense. And you don't want to get overly complicated. I would generally recommend starting simpler and then adding complexity as you learn more about it. Otherwise, if you get too ambitious, it can be quite overwhelming. So with that said, let's actually just jump into a demo account that's set up by Google. They have this fictional merchandise store, and in Analytics you can actually add this store to your account if you want to have a look at it. And so basically what we're seeing here is the traditional Google Analytics. This is what it looks like when we log in. Never really spend any time on this screen itself. There's a real-time tracker. With most of us with smaller businesses, there's not a lot of purpose to this, but this is showing what's happening on the website right now. If you have a higher volume site, it's interesting, not particularly actionable. Typically we'll go with things that we look at on a regular basis are looking at the audience. You can go down and look at some of the demographics. Again, we won't go deep right now, and you can poke around on your own, but it shows ages, genders, geography. We'll quite often look at the location, so where are people coming from. This will go down to a city and city region, so New York, London, Mountain View. Yeah, again, these are all simulated, not real data, but you can go to all the way down to a city level and see how many users, what the bounce rate was. And the bounce rate is when somebody leaves the site without looking at a second page, the average number of pages per session, the average session duration, transactions if you're doing e-commerce. We can also set up goals. So in here, here's the example of registrations, which totally set that up for lots of folks, and you should set that up if you're doing your own analytics. So you can see the number of registrations of whatever type they're setting up in their fictional ecosystem. You can see the conversion rate, which is the percentage of visitors who do sign up for that registration. And again, you can even break that down right by the actual marketing source, which we'll do in a second. We also often look at do a mobile overview to see who's coming on desktop versus mobile versus tablet. In most cases now we're seeing mobile actually overtaking desktop a bit. Under acquisition, actually typically the first place that I'll go to is under acquisition, all traffic. There's this source and medium, which will show you, oh, that's funny, in the Google simulator, they have most of the traffic coming from first direct/none. It means that people typed in the URL, hit a bookmark, or came through some similar means as that. But then we can say, oh, they have the Google cost per click. So that's Google Ads. Oh, they have partners and affiliate traffic. They have Bing cost per click. This is a very narrow sort of example of how those UTM links work, in that you can break them all apart. Typically, it would be more like you'd see your social sources of traffic in here as well. You'd see your ads, you'd see your email. Again, that's how it usually work for that. There's a ton more I could dive into, but in the interest of time and not getting too deep, I won't go there. And again, you can see a goals overview. And again, they just have that one showing up there. Yeah, so that's not that helpful. Oh, actually, we can switch to the other goals. No, it is just, yeah, there we go. There's the all goals one. Apologies, there's the different goals: purchase completed, engaged users, registrations, enter checkout. Those are arbitrary goals that they've set up. That said, a ton more we can do, and we'll dive into this a bunch more in the Academy. Thanks very much.